not every day you have the Black David Ornstein on the platform. Smash the like button. Arts in the building.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. As the big man Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. I got my good friend, the Black David Ornstein, doing fantastic stuff in this journalist world. Art, what are you telling them, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. I hope you've been having a good summer. I hope everyone who's watching has had a good summer so far as well. To be fair, I've been having withdrawal symptoms for Arsenal. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Apart from the Betis game, which we might talk about, I don't know.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, I was very, very much looking forward to, the Arsenal actually getting back into action. So yeah, looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to the new season, and yeah, summer's been decent.
So what you been up to away from Arsenal?
To be fair, not too much. Like,
yeah, been partying with Ornstein and all that.
No, I only did like a little bit during the World Cup. Like I think the Japan-Brazil game, I did some stuff, and then was doing some of the athletic podcasts as well. They were doing like daily podcasts during the World Cup, so I was doing some of those.
He's rubbing shoulders with some influencers and whatnot, people, man.
But yeah, for the most part, man, Arsenal's the top. So been waiting for them to come back.
Like you said, I can see it in your face, man. Obviously, we won the Premier League. We're all giddy to see it and whatnot. Obviously, you lot can see in the title, people. We are going to discuss Bruno, Guimarães, Vinícius, Arsenal summer, and all of that kind of stuff, people. We're going to get into that. I promise you lot. Smash the like button, subscribe, follow Art on all his platforms. You mentioned the Betis game. Now, that would make it, 3 preseason games, 2 that we've actually seen. What did you make of that game, and what have you made of us in preseason so far?
Yeah, mixed after the Betis game. I was lucky enough to be out in Girona for that one, and I don't know, in that game they appeared to be really sharp.
Like 2 different sides.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was the exact same starting 11. So I don't know how or why they were so sloppy against Betis, because again, even if you look at the first 5-10 minutes, you actually thought, okay, maybe they're carrying that momentum from the Girona game into this one, but it just fell off a cliff. Like what I liked about the performance in Girona was just how crisp the passing was, how a lot of the players were very forward thinking in what they were doing. But then I don't know, it seems like after that 10 minutes in Ireland,
downhill.
It was just like they forgot how to play football, which was very, very annoying, and hopefully doesn't creep into the games against Dortmund and Como, and of course City and then Coventry. But yeah, I'd say so far mixed because of 2 very polar opposite matches.
I think you summed it up perfectly, and obviously I wouldn't call it a cop out, but it is only preseason. I think Betis had 6 preseason games under their belt. We've got, to our knowledge, 3, obviously, if you include the MK Dons game. It is a mixed lineup. It's a bit like Football Manager. You're just putting 11 out there, innit? And it is just about fitness and all of that kind of jazz, innit? So I do believe that on one hand, but then I wasn't happy with what I saw. And as much as I think it's preseason, I am big on the standards. And if anyone was watching it, or if anyone was out in Dublin, Mikel Arteta definitely tore into them at halftime. And we all saw the scenes of him during the game. He wasn't going to be happy. As you said, man, I think you're right. I think we started well. It looked like we was going to carry that momentum. Had Gyökeres scores, that might have flipped the game. Yeah. But I think it was just a culmination of errors, bro. If I'm honest with you, I think we were sloppy on the ball. I think we, gave away some cheap turnovers, which led to the goals. I think there were several points of error. I am unhappy to have the Girona game and the Betis game, and we have conceded from 2 goals from set pieces. I don't want to make it about Kepa, but I don't think Kepa covered himself with any glory. So it was just poor, man, really. And, you know, I look at someone like Zolis in particular. I think, you know, he looked very good against Girona. Didn't really quite look like that against Betis. He's not alone. They all look like that. I think unless your name is Max Dowman or Miles Lewis-Skelly, I don't really feel you did anything of note. So it's a weird one. On that, though, I want to ask you about Wanyeri, because depending on who I ask, you know, it's polarizing opinions, isn't it?
It's not polarizing for me. I think you know what answer you're going to get.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. But like, before we get into his future, I want to make this about Wanyeri. What have you made of his performances? Because I think he's fitted in. He's not necessarily stood out. I think when you're looking at what Arteta is asking him to do that role to kind of mimic Odegaard, he is kind of doing that. But I think we want him to stand out. We want to, well, in your case, making articles, and for me, making YouTube channels and videos saying, "Oh, Wanyeri, we can't let him go," etc. What have you made of his performances in preseason, and what do you honestly think the future holds for him?
Yeah, so in terms of preseason, obviously going into that Girona game, you're thinking before you kind of get to the game, what kind of things can I write about? And he was top of the list because, of course, he was starting. He obviously played really well and scored the last time Arsenal played at Girona, and it felt like it could be a nice, you know, full circle moment. But as you say, I think he's being asked to play in that Odegaard role, and what I'd like to see more of is just his personality. I think when he broke into the team, into the first team, when Saka was injured back
he had that swagger
24-25, he had swagger, but also he's playing on the right wing, which is obviously a very different job, so you have less responsibilities in a way, and I don't mean that to come across as saying right wing's like an easy job, because it's not.
But we know how complicated midfield is in the modern day, let alone with Arteta.
Exactly. So there were things that I did like from him in terms of being that kind of first option to progress the ball alongside Miles. I thought he did well in that regard. But as you say, he did okay. He didn't stand out. And I think when you're looking at this preseason, you really want him to grasp that opportunity and say, okay, I'm here. This is my spot. Because when you look back to last preseason, I felt he did that. I felt he was one of Arsenal's, top performers in last year's preseason alongside Ben White. And that was in midfield. You saw him, that little burst he's got over the first, 5 yards, but also the trickery ability to not just stay in that, pocket, but roam around the pitch a little bit and take shots on. Wanted to see a bit more of that. Obviously saw more of his, positives against Girona than Betis, like with everyone. And then in terms of his future, I don't know.
Give me some copium, man.
No, my thing is, when you look at the midfield, and I'm 100% sure we'll talk at length about this, but when you look at that midfield, I feel like there's so many different ways that Mikel Arteta can set that up. That really interests me.
Arouses my imagination, man. It really does.
And for me, in my opinion, coming into this summer, and this opinion's kind of only grown throughout the World Cup after seeing what Mikel Merino was doing with Spain. But I'd rather just see Merino used like primarily as a 9.
You're a striker.
I don't want to see him as a midfielder, because we've seen for 2 seasons now. I know he's been a very important player for Arsenal, but all his important moments come as a striker or as a second striker.
They all come in the final third.
Yeah. When he plays in midfield, it's too slow. It's very...
And it's weird, because when he's up front and he drops into midfield, he looks better in midfield. It's a weird one, man. I got time for Marino, but it's weird, bro.
If you think back to the North London derby, the first one at the Emirates, he's the one that plays the ball over the top for Trossard, because he started as the 9, but he's dropped back in. I don't know if there's some weird psychology thing.
Yeah, I proper don't get it.
Because we don't see that when he plays in midfield. But to cut that, part out of it, I'd like to see players like Marino repurposed into a different position, and then you have another kind of option there in midfield, which could be Ethan Waneri. And then you've, of course, got other kind of players around him. But for me, the ideal situation is something like that, where you're still able to get him in the team. And also, when you look at the minutes played for central midfielders last season, obviously Rice and Zubimendi are top with over 4,000 minutes. But then if you look at the other players, you have, I think Eze's just over 2,000 minutes.
His most minutes in a single season, if I'm not mistaken, Eze.
And then Erdegaard's just under 2,000 minutes. Marino's just over 1,000 minutes. And then everyone else is like 400, 500 minutes. That needs to balance out. And I feel like those players, obviously, they're not all going to be fit for the whole season. That's just never going to happen in football, especially with the physical demands now. But I think that core group of players is enough alongside Bruno, obviously, to utilize fully throughout the course of the season.
We've got some ridiculous options, man. Like, people, I know we keep saying it, but we're going to get into it. But statistically, Rice and Zubimendi, whatever people say about it, they were overplayed. But statistically, that was our first choice pivot. Then you've got Bruno and Rice. Assumptions are dangerous in life, but we assume that's probably going to be the first choice. We saw to the end of last season what Miles Lewis-Skelly and Declan Rice could do. And I think it's a weird one with Miles Lewis-Skelly, because I wouldn't say people underrate him, but I think when we're talking about Bruno and Rice and this one, we're sleeping on what Miles Lewis-Skelly is, what he can do. As much as we could talk about his ball playing, his driving, his passing range, all of that, the personality, whether we've won or lost in the big games, he's always stood up. And I think it's interesting that you're seeing a lot more of him in pre-season, early doors, kind of play as a right sort of central midfielder. So you could have the two pivots in a 10. Obviously, I'm a Wenger baby. I'd love to even flirt with the ideas of the Ezes, the Odegaards, the Wanyeris, force one of those kind of guys out wide, do all of that kind of stuff. In my heart of hearts, I'm a bit conflicted with Wanyeri, because I feel, obviously, players are coming back at staggered times, innit? I think this is like, you could use that to your advantage type of thing. If Arteta already had his thinking going into the next season, you might be able to put a spanner in his kind of thinking. And you might even, there probably is a move indirectly. He's been linked with Leipzig, but maybe that kind of delays kind of plans. But it's like what you said, he's fitted in. You kind of need to stand out. I just feel sorry for Wanyeri in that the club might look at you as, if we can get some money in, maybe a buyback clause, a sell-on clause, that's what Haylen's decided to do, innit? People come to the first team, people go and make it. Unfortunately for Wanyeri, there's a lot of competition. It's not like, because one thing I'm big on in football, Art, is I think you can be the right player at the wrong time. And there are some players that are going to bust all the time. But you look at Smith Rowe and Bukai, you look at Smith Rowe and Saka and Martinelli. Remember when our team was proper shit? They got an opportunity. If Wanyeri was there them times, he's got a kind of clean run. Now you're competing with players that have been bought for multi-millions, established internationals, whether we rate them or not. There is that talk of, yes, rightly so, we want to win a league again. And I just feel when you look in the midfield, honest to God, I think, especially if he's seen as a rotating 8, you've got Eze, Odegaard in front of you in that midfield role, and they'll probably be used in the pivot before you. I'm with you in that I'd prefer Marino and actually Kai Havertz just organically as strikers, but you've got them. That's before we talk about Lewis-Skelly, Bruno, Rice, Zubimendi, who are all international footballers. And I know Miles Lewis-Skelly wasn't bought for big money, but he might as well have been a 60, 70 million signing like the rest of them. So I think it's dark. Then on the right-hand side, I would have preferred, I know it's different, but I would have preferred to either buy a better right winger or spend the money elsewhere and just let Wanyeri have his apprenticeship out on the right-hand side. But you've got...
As in last summer?
Yeah. I would have thought that would have been you, but now you've got Noni ahead of you, another England international. Dowman's probably ahead of you in the pecking order, and Saka's the king of that, isn't it? Saka's fit, he's going to be there. So it's just, my rogue shout would be, could you get minutes on the left? I'm not sure, and I think go on.
My other thing is, I remember, so it was around the time when he was breaking through into the first team, and Mikel Arteta kind of unprovoked said, "Oh, I see him in a different position
when he could be a striker."
Yeah, and
play him there then, man.
The reason why it interested me is because he actually played there for a little bit under Jack Wilshere in the under-18s. So the year that the under-18s went to the FA Youth Cup final, unfortunately, but that season he had quite a few minutes playing up front, and he impressed. And obviously, I think even the players have spoken about how he's probably one of the best finishers at the club. And I wonder, is there a moment, maybe, I know we said Marino play up there, is there a moment where he could be, given a little trial run in that position? Because, as we say, Mikel Arteta has mentioned it before. He hasn't done it as of yet, but it's just an itch that I would like to be scratched at some point before it's too late.
And the thing is, yeah, I agree with you. I just feel, rightly or wrongly, that's where you look at someone like Marino and Kai. Ranieri needs to develop into that role. Arteta knows what they can kind of bring, so that kind of goes against him. And I don't want to be disingenuous to Reece Nelson, but I would be conflicted if I was Ranieri. Like, you don't want to, with the greatest of respect to Nelson, you've played for our football club, Haaland, all of that kind of stuff. You're getting 100 grand a week. That is a success story. You don't want to end up like him, where you're at the club, but you're not really. You're going on loan, you're coming back. For Ranieri, maybe you need to take a step back away from Arsenal, go somewhere where you're going to get 20, 30 games, have those ups and downs to make that step forward. And if I remove the fact that I'm an Arsenal fan and I like Ranieri, and I don't know, for argument's sake, I'm a German club. We know how they operate. They see value in the British market, especially those young players. Ranieri would be one I would look at and say, you know what, your stock's kind of taking a hit. Or all the points we've made, your stock's taking a hit. Maybe we could get you on a deal. You come here, you assert yourself, and we'll sell you back to this market for X amount of money. So it's like what someone said on my live stream, I think yesterday, when there was like, we need to kind of be like Real Madrid when they sell these young players. There's buyback clauses, there's sell-on clauses. I'm sure you do that in Football Manager as well. And then he kind of comes back. But sometimes your heart speaks, and the Marley Salmons, the Dowmans of this world, the Miles Lewis-Skellies, the Wanieris, you want them all to make it in addition to a Bukayo Saka. So it's a conflicting one. And on the topic of Marley Salmon, I've got a radical shout with him. I wouldn't say he needs football, first team football per se, but I do think you're at that stage. Under 21s isn't helping you. You need to be against grown men, smart, street smart, like against Betis, where the guy let it dummy through his legs and he kind of done him and he gave his foul away. My rogue shout with him, would be send him to Luton. Just like with Ainsley Maitland-Niles when he went Ipswich at 17, it could be send him to Luton, let him get in a bit of apprenticeship. Because why I want Marley of all to make it is, as much as I love Dowman and Wanyeri and Lewis Skelly, they're kind of the players we bring through. We don't really bring through defenders, like specifically. People accidentally end up there, and there's plenty of examples. So it'll be interesting to see, man. I've had you here, and I have to speak about him. Like, what have you made of Zolis? I know the jury's still out. I like what I see. I know people want stars and level make raises and whatnot, but I like what he is. I keep comparing him to Trossard, and I want to be careful with my own logic of saying the whole Trossard thing. I know Mikel done the same thing because he is his own man. But what have you made of Zolis? Like, what have you made of him from what you've seen and the stuff you've researched and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was funny, the Arteta thing, because I asked the question. And
it was you asked it. Hey, pick yourself up, man.
And I didn't like include any comparisons. I just said, what's your first impressions been like? And then Mikel brought up Trossard, unprovoked, which was quite funny. But in terms of what I've seen and what I like about him, sorry. So out in Spain, what I liked from that performance was he wasn't scared to, drive at the opposition
footed as well,
right back. So we'll get onto that in a bit. But
go ahead, man. Take the floor, man.
But yeah, I like that he wasn't scared to drive at his opposition fullback, and also that the finish, even though he got a little nick, it was one that he's been, well versed in. So that finish,
I mean, you have to buy a raffle ticket.
There's that, but also that finish he'd been doing, in training during the week, because we'd seen videos from Arsenal of him doing it. But also, I managed to get a video of him doing that same finish in the warm up during, just before the game.
He's gonna He's gonna get a coaching gig soon, lads.
No,
He's not gonna be at the Athletic forever, man.
but it's the fact that it's repeat actions. It's not a fluke. It's something that he's able to, visualize and put to practice. So that's one thing that I liked about the finish. In terms of the two-footed thing that you mentioned, what I like is it's not just like a random swipe at the ball. So there's this goal he scored against, I believe it was Anderlecht last season, if people want to go watch tape.
Go watch that, man.
But his like, how would I phrase it? His like step pattern, he's used his right foot to, just set the ball, and then he's not even broken stride to hit it off his left, and it just looks natural. That's what I like. And we had a chance to speak to him last week, and I asked him about basically David Villa being one of his influences, and he was very, it seemed like he was quite happy with the question, and he was talking about not just obviously them being forwards that come in off the left hand side in that little pocket, but he even went into as much detail as talking about their body types and stuff. So I think he's a real student of the game, and I think there will be a lot to like from him. I saw, someone said Hector locked him up.
Yeah,
Well,
I can't lie, yeah. We love Hector Bellerin, but we didn't ask a damn question of him that whole game. Any of them, really.
I think, I would have liked to have seen him, take him on a bit more, because there were times where he did get the ball and he's looked to combine with someone rather than, take the man on. So I think maybe picking his moments, it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But one other thing I just wanted to mention on him was I watched an interview he did while he was in Belgium, and he said when he was at Club Bruges, he was used in two different ways. Sometimes as a touchline winger, sometimes as a pocket player,
inside forward.
Yeah, and I think he said the pocket stuff comes more naturally to him, but he actually got quite a lot of goals and assists as a touchline winger. So I'd be interested to see how he's used throughout the course of the season and whether it does change from game to game, because I do feel like there is definitely room for more of a touchline winger on that left-hand side.
I mean, we need to sort that left-hand side out, man. Like, is it going to be Hincapié or Calafiori? I don't necessarily care which one, but I rate them. I don't know. Some people might go as left field to say, you know what, start of the season, Eze could do that. Some people might assume, maybe rightly or wrongly, that it's Martinelli's spot to lose because he's been at the club. He understands the system. Some people might say, you know what, Zolis, breath of fresh air sort of thing. So it's like, it's a weird one, but that left-hand side still needs to be sorted. So I'll pop the question to you. Obviously, you're not the manager, but on the 7th of August, like, who do you think is the starting left winger, or who do you think starts against Coventry? I know we got a while to go. Is it Zolis or Martinelli, or maybe I wouldn't call it a left field choice, pardon the pun, but a left field choice in Eze?
I think it'll be Solis. There's a few factors I think what is also important is he already had 2 weeks of pre-season.
And he spoke about that as well
with Club Bruges. So you've seen, obviously, Martinelli played half an hour against Betis. I don't think
the football manager thing, bro. People coming on and coming off.
Yeah. So I don't think he'll be, in that rhythm like Solis will be for the first game of the season.
Scoring in his debut, man. His official debut.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Solis who starts that opening day. And also I
was going to mention this.
Yeah, on the point from
Biryani, big him up, man. He's always here, man.
The other thing that I liked was there was a move in the first half involving Havertz and Calafiori, I believe, where the Girona defense had really, sat back in a deep block, and then it's like nice one-touch football. But the big thing is Solis had made a run in behind, even though there was a low block, and I think he should have shot on this occasion, but he cut it back to Gyökeres, who I don't think he made it.
In my imagination, man.
But I liked the fact that he was willing to make a move, even though the defense was set. And I hope that instinct doesn't leave him during the season, because we've seen players come to Arsenal and they kind of get, caught in that rhythm of games where you're just kind of passing the ball for the sake of it.
You're doing what you've done on the training ground rather than that instinctive kind of nature.
And I hope he keeps that instinct in his game.
Do you know what? Above all that I like about him is, obviously, I'm not saying he's going to go and be world class. I know there's a degree of expectation, especially if we don't sign a left winger. But I've called for us. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, great. But I've always called for to kind of find these kind of unknown guys. And if we have been scouted for the best part of a year, and all the things you've said, and all the things we can see him being ball-footed, he clearly seems like a student of the game. As much as I think he's he loves being at Arsenal. It's almost like and I understand I've got to earn my chops. It's like I understand like the magnitude of this. Like I've taken my preseason seriously and at Arsenal. I'm studying the game. I'm doing these things. I find it a bit romantic that his debut in England actually came against us. And another thing I like in that adversity in it, like a lot of our footballers have had different levels of adversity. Like Saka's had injuries and missing the penalty, but in terms of becoming a professional footballer, like Magalhaes had that. Declan Rice got released by Chelsea. You know, Eze's had his own kind of moments. I feel Zolis kind of ties into that, and that might give you a burning desire. You're coming. You first came to these British shores at 19. You're a much better player than you are now, than you was then at 24 years of age. And obviously, another thing that gives me hope is what he's played in his homeland of Greece. He's played in England before, so he knows the level that he needs to be versus what he was. So that's what Greece, England, Belgium, Germany, Holland. Yep. That should help you adapt on and off the field. So I think he will be all right, man. And at 24 years of age, 40-odd million euros, I'm kind of cool with that. My big thing is, what do we do beyond that? And as we move this conversation on to that kind of stuff, get your questions in, folks. The first question I'm actually going to ask you is, obviously we've won the Premier League title now and it's sunk in, but let's just assume let's just assume the window closed today. Yeah. Do you think we have enough to retain the Premier League title?
Ooh,
so it stops at Bruno.
That's a good question.
Come on, get me a job at Athletic. We can be there together, my boy. Like...
If the window closed today,
right now, we got what we got. We don't have what we don't have.
With Bruno, yeah, I do think so. But I would maybe say no to winning the Champions League. Going the extra
I was hoping you would allude to that, you know.
Because we all know what Mikel Arteta spoke about immediately after the Champions League final was individual quality in the final third.
Go back to Bayern Munich when we said we needed players with X factor and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's just not really been rectified in a way where even though you sign someone like Solis, it's not someone who's of the ilk where you're like, wow, before they even make an appearance for the club. Even though we've liked what we've seen from Solis, he was a little bit of an unknown kind of entity. So
there's not an immediate level raiser at the point of entry. We hope he goes on to do that and we like what we see, but it's not like getting a Vinícius, which people, I promise you, the conversation is flowing towards that.
Yeah, but in terms of the Premier League, I think this squad is strong enough because especially if you add Bruno to that midfield mix, what I feel like is he allows that midfield to be a lot more versatile than it has been in the past. So
expand on that.
You look at the midfield profiles that are kind of behind the first choice options from, you know, seasons gone by, and it's Jorginho, it's El Neni.
Big him up, but yeah.
It's guys who kind of do one job. And big up to Jorginho because he was a very important player and he performed very well.
At one point, him and Rice was one of our best partnerships.
Exactly. He exceeded expectations. But when you look at Bruno, his athleticism takes that conversation to a different level. Athleticism and technique while being athletic. I think that blend will allow Arsenal to be different to what they were like last season. Because when I was, you know, watching him, watching his stuff for Newcastle and Lyon,
we've all wanted for years, man.
I was actually pleasantly surprised by what he was doing on the ball. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just that whenever Arsenal have played Newcastle, his job has been very specific.
Get under the feathers, kick us and whatnot. Which, word to Wenger, I haven't seen. Now that you're signed for us, I haven't seen anything. But there's that. Do you know what it is with Bruno? And let's actually stick on Bruno for a minute. Yeah. Beyond the obvious, I think he's a level raiser. I think he gives us good problems. I know the first question will be, oh, what's happening with Zubi? What's going on with Miles Lewis-Kelly? I understand that and they're relevant. In a good way, there's 2 positions in that pivot. There's 4 players. Go and make sure Mikel Arteta can't leave you out. Mikel Arteta works long days at that office. So when he goes home and the kids want to play with him and he's on top of what he's doing at Arsenal, he's put the kids to bed. His wife probably wants to make another child. Let him say to his wife, listen, I can't do that. How do I get Lewis Kelly in there? What am I kind of doing? That's the kind of things I want in it. And I like the fact that he's a captain in it. Like with the last captain we bought, I know not Norgard, but the last big money captain
I was about
bought,
to say,
yeah, no, big up Norgard because you done your thing. Best of luck at Everton. But when we bought Rice, you saw the leadership qualities. I think Bruno brings that. I think he brings a sense of urgency being 28, 29. As you said, he gives us a lot on the ball. We've got like a lot. I would describe these guys as more sixes, but they're all different kind of sixes. Like Lewis Kelly can do a number of roles, but he's a different six to Rice. Rice is more a traditional British kind of one.
Well, I think
he's more of a continental one.
Sorry to cut you, but at the end of the day, you're just a midfielder. Like,
yeah, this is what I'm saying. We've got different mixes and blends. You don't want to eat curry goat all the time. We got curry goat, we got jerk chicken, we got fish and chips. Right, the spicy life. We got beer things in midfield now, my boy.
So
I've got unimaginable thoughts, bro. I even want to put Miles Lewis Skelly left back when we're dominating possession, and on paper it looks mad. Go in midfield, let's suffocate them.
Yeah, I think the thing with all these guys is, and we've seen it in the way that Arteta's recruited throughout, let's say the last 3 years. So from Declan Rice onwards, really.
Well, we've been serious.
You see, okay, someone arrives and everyone has like a preconceived notion of, are you a 6? Are you an 8? But in reality,
fluid.
It's going to change throughout the season. You just need players who are midfielders. State. Exactly. And I feel like you're kind of getting, in this sense, a little bit closer to what football was like, let's say in the 90s or the 2000s.
Yeah, where you're just a central midfielder, bro.
Exactly.
You attack, you defend, you do
everything. You need to be able to do everything. And I like that it's becoming more fluid, to use the word that you used.
And you know one thing I like as well, Art, in that as much as I think I know Bruno, and I do think at 28, 29, it's a sense of what you see is what you get. I know people are going to, some people behave like 28, 29 is 99. You can still get 3 good years. He's got a burning desire to want to succeed, yeah. But what I like about him is, obviously he's a bit young. Well, he's a couple of years older than when we signed Rice. But I think at 28, 29, what you see is kind of what you get. I think I know what Bruno Guimarães is, in it. Obviously, I'm not watching him to the standard of Newcastle fans because I'm not watching him week in, week out. But when I signed Declan Rice, I thought that my biggest thing with Bruno, is is Arteta going to show us more balls in the arrow, sort of thing? Because Declan Rice obviously does that 6 stuff. He's doing set pieces. He gets goals. Yeah. He's doing box crashing. I wonder what Bruno could do. And honestly, I don't know who's going to, like you said, and I agree, you're a centre mid. There's times where you got to be the 6, you got to be the 8, but how is it going to be? Is Rice going to stay further deeper and Bruno's going to be the guy in the final third? Or are we going to double down in that? You got Bruno doing the 6 stuff. Rice, you've got even more license to, you still got to defend, but you can kind of take the cautious approach away from yourself and go forward. It'd be very interesting to see what we're going to do there. I've actually got a hot take, yeah. I know a lot of people are saying it could be Miles Lewis Skelly that goes. I actually think it might be Zubi. I love Zubi to bits. You just think to me of someone that might want to go back to Spain. It looks like Rodri's going Barcelona. Real Madrid, it's looking like it might make sense next season. My other hot take with Zubimendi is I might actually see you play right back in the first couple games of the season. But that's for another thing. And bro, do you know what I think that? Do you remember West Ham? Do you remember when Rice went there? A part of me felt if we had a Bruno at that moment, Rice could have very well went right back and we could have held it. And then a part of me thought, could Zubi go over there? So we've got some orgasmic options now, if I'm honest with you, bro. Like, every time I've done a video with you, I've said I want a centre mid. Yeah. I finally believe in my central midfield. And then, as you kind of alluded to earlier, the Wanyeri's on papers, the Dalmans on papers, the Eze's, the Odegaards, the things we could do in central midfield. Bro, Wenger will be proud of this shit, man.
Yeah, it's mad. Like, and one thing I might write about before the season starts is basically the next evolutionary step for Mikel Arteta.
Talk to us, man.
I feel like not Arsenal fans, maybe some Arsenal fans, but mostly it's the general fan. They have this notion of what Arteta's football is. And their entry point to Mikel Arteta's football was Arsenal trying to win the league after finishing second so many times. And that football wasn't what they started that journey doing.
Exactly.
And I feel like, even to be fair, sometimes myself, I kind of forget that, because when you're watching the games, even last season, there were boring games. So I'm not saying people are wrong in the way they think about Arsenal, but I do feel like they don't take into consideration that at one point Arsenal were one of the most entertaining teams in the league under Arteta, and I do feel like the way he's spoken throughout the summer since the Champions League final, it does seem like he wants to go back to that, or at least try to
And then
regain
even
some of
people look
that.
at that with rose tints as well, Art, man, because I agree, 2022, 23, for whatever reason, maybe teams didn't know how he wanted to play. Maybe everything just clicked. It was great to watch. One of the best games, a random one for me, would have actually, away from the obvious, I think Gabriel Magalhaes scored. I think we beat Chelsea at the Bridge. I think we were just so
That
different.
was the
But I
top
think
game.
people, I think people look at it with rose tints because yes, we played attacking football. But if you remember, 9 times out of 10 that season, the games were a tale of two halves. Like the first half, we might be blisteringly good. We might score one goal, not necessarily 3s and 4s. The second half, it's just Ramsdale highlights. Like we all remember Leicester away with the save. So I think we needed to improve defensively.
Yeah.
You could argue we've gone the other way. I personally think there's some logic in that. But then I also think, why would you stop something you're good at? Last season was a needs must. And I think there's a wider discussion. And of course, Arteta, there's conversations about how you platform attackers and for the attackers individually, how you get better. But the ball, as you know yourself, because you look at these stats week in, week out, if you look at it from a broader approach, one, how many teams in England actually play entertaining football? Because it's none of the top 6. 2, the ball is in play less. We're in systemic football. We're in this weird day and age where you've got high lines and midfielders and midfielders dropping deep and goalies, and it's crowded in midfield. So it's not just an Arsenal thing, it's the climate, bro.
I'm glad you brought it up because there was a press conference last season around March where a few of us, like, this was like it felt like catching lightning in a bottle because Mikel was actually very open and willing to talk about the subject, and he was talking about how quickly football changed from that season that you mentioned.
It's an athlete's thing now,
and I think part of it is once one team sees what works to nullify a certain threat, every team's going to do that. And I don't know if you disagree or agree, but for me, the first team that really stifled Arsenal in that 22-23 season was Newcastle in the January when
we've had some terrible times against them, man.
It was 0-0 and they just set up to completely kill
when
the
at the game there was a record, the ball was out of play at the time for like a record. Yeah, big up Eddie Howe, needs must. I understand it. Yeah. I remember that game.
And then the reason why that game feels really interesting compared to what Mikel was talking about was he used Barcelona's first leg against Newcastle in the Champions League. Was it round of 16?
Must have been last year, isn't it?
Last season.
Where Rashford scored the banger.
No. So in the knockout stages where
shit. Yeah.
Newcastle were 1-0 up for most of the game and Barcelona didn't equalize until like the last minute through a Lamine Yamal penalty. And you saw, even the continent's, one of the continent's most entertaining attacking teams can get undone by this. So I do feel like just waiting for whoever that team is to almost be like that game breaker in FIFA Street where they
throwback
where they just change the game and they're able to break that systemic I don't know, just what football has become in the last few years, because as you say, it's not just an Arsenal thing. You watch a lot of Premier League football and most games follow the same pattern.
Most games follow the same pattern. There's a big emphasis on throw-ins, and I know where people just hate the fact that we're good at it. Like, we're good at corners. Everybody knows the amount of goals Arsenal scored from corners. Go and look at where the other teams kind of rank. Certain teams like Brentford, big them up, extremely long throws and things. The dead balls, and because it's like you said, it's systemic football. There isn't much space. You're going to emphasize the fine margins. So for me, I would, if it was as easy as this, how we played on the ball in 2022-23 with how we defend now, marry that all together, we're effing laughing. PSG is obviously like the blueprint for me. I think Arteta's football is quite similar to that. I think that's Arteta football on steroids. Big up Luis Enrique. To which it leads me to this, because I've had it on a while. I've had it on the screen for a while. Do you think we would do something like Miles, Rice, Bruno, G trio like PSG? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I can see that working 100%. I feel like what really makes PSG stand out is the rotations of players.
Stupid rotations.
And it's all across the pitch. So that midfield three isn't set. As we were talking about earlier, they're just midfielders who can play in any kind of area of the pitch, and they're able to, they're able to pass, they're able to tackle, they're able to do each other's jobs as well as their own. But then also what really makes them stand out in attack, so beyond the midfielders, is I don't think there are many teams who double up wingers in terms of, and I don't mean that in terms of doubling up when marking a winger. I mean doubling up when attacking.
When you're attacking. It's
so
stupid.
Due and Kvaratskhelia or Kvaratskhelia and Barcola being on the same side at the same time.
And
together,
their fullbacks.
It's insane. And I feel like, surely at some point, whether it's Arsenal or another team in the Premier League, surely that trend has to, translate over to England at some point, because I haven't seen many other teams do that in recent seasons. I could be forgetting another team that does it, but PSG just feel like the best example of a team that really, they're not ordinary in what they do. They don't just get into a set way of playing. There's always
so fluid.
There's always a way where they can hurt you without you kind of knowing it, if that makes sense. So yeah. And also, before we leave this topic, in terms of that fluidity, there's players there that I do feel like we can get more out of. And
Name names, man.
Saka is one of them. And the reason I say that is because when you look at when he broke into the team, obviously he was playing pretty much everywhere. But the one position where he played really well, but I don't think he's played as much, is central midfield, whether it's as an 8 or as a 10. And he got a few games as a 10 last season and was incredible, in my opinion. And I'd love to see almost, let's say, similar to Elise, where he can play off the right, but he can play as a 10.
You've got the license to float and roam.
I'd love to see
Saka
defensively
as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see Saka, take more central positions, not just stay out wide, because we know where he gets his joy. It's in and around the box. And I think the last couple of seasons, he's been a bit too much of a touchline winger. And I know we spoke about that, the need for that on the left-hand side, but when it's a touchline winger only on one side,
it gets a bit predictable.
So
exactly.
Yeah, I think there's ways that, a few of these players can be used differently that should help Arsenal.
We're getting there, man. And like PSG is the blueprint, in it. Like I see their fullbacks switch sides, their fullbacks on the same side, as you said, the wingers on the same side. They have that perfect blend of the collective ethos and the individuals, because all of their attackers bust their asses to go back, and they somehow find ways to score goals. Now, obviously, money helps, signing quality players helps, but they're so admirable. Like you look at their midfield three on paper, you would assume João Neves would be the deepest if you look at it like that, because he's the guy that breaks up midfield. Sometimes it's Fabian Ruiz. Sometimes João Neves is the furthest forward. So there's a lot of blueprints to learn from. And this is what I mean. Like signing players is one of the job. Evolving tactically is another. And also the players have got to take it to another gears. They have to keep them. I know it's not all them, but they have to kind of keep themselves fit. A lot of our attacking players, they had moments, and big them up because we got over the line, innit? They had their moments, but there wasn't that level of consistency. And we all know Arsenal's defensive ethos, which ties into the attack, but our defensive ethos and our defenders, we know what we're getting from them. Midfield, I think, with Bruno Guimarães, I mean, some would say, could we sign another 8.5, 10, whatever you call it? But that's kind of sorted. It just, if it's the final third, ironically, it's like the attacking unit. That's the one where you're surprised if they score. You're not surprised if they score. You're surprised if they don't score. You're not surprised if they don't. If they do score, it's a weird one, man. And some of everyone's situations are different, innit, bro? Like Saka is more of a fitness thing, and maybe tactically, as you alluded to. Eze is more of adapting. Gyökeres, we have to meet each other halfway. Like with Kai, it's more game statey things with them. Martinelli, for me, bro, is a tool in the toolbox. I love him, but I accept you for what you are. Like Noni Madueke, I'm not here for all this potential and the penny dropping and things. Now, if it happens, it's great. And then, so it'll be interesting, man. And obviously, we've got Mad Max Dalman and Wanyeri and these guys that we hope make it, man. But we've done a lot of talking about preseason, about internally and all of these things, yeah. Mm-hmm. We need to talk about signings, man, or someone that isn't signing. It was a great dream, wasn't it, man? Vinicius Junior and Real Madrid. Like, did you feel not? I'm not gonna ask you. Did you feel there was legs? But in your
Mm.
heart, did you feel it could happen? Like, how did you feel it would happen, or did you feel like where was
Mm.
you at with Vinicius, and what would this have meant to you? Had we have signed him?
Yeah, so initially I was surprised, like everyone, I feel like. It wasn't something that I was expecting to come out, really. And then I was kind of like, it's weird. So with Vinicius, he's not a player in the last few years that I spent a lot of time watching. So I had to kind of find out how good he was for myself, in my own opinion. And when I started to watch, I was like, okay, yeah, you can see the star quality is obvious. And I did get quite, hopeful that it would happen. I think what my main thing was that that star quality, Arsenal have never really been in the conversation for. And
We got to
also,
find them guys before they become these guys. 9 times out of 10.
yeah, and also part of what excited me about it was the first time in the window where it felt like Arsenal were acting like champions, because
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Nah, listen, I didn't expect you to say that, but that's a sentiment shared with all of us.
Because I mean, Bruno is one thing, but I feel like, yeah, everyone was waiting for Arsenal to make a big move for someone
It was
that
Morgan
hadn't
Rogers
happened
them
yet.
times before we got here.
And I would have loved Morgan Rogers. I don't mind
Same.
saying that here. I think he's a really, really top player. So yeah, I was quite, excited that Arsenal were finally throwing their weight about, it seemed. In terms of it not happening, I'm kind of, because I wasn't expecting it at first, I'm kind of fine with it. And also, I'm sure we'll talk about who could alternatives be. And there's not a lot, but one player who I do like a lot is Iliman Ndiaye, and if he's someone that Arsenal move to, I don't know if that's worthy of a pause. But
No. This is listen. We could be the best midfield partnership Arsenal ever have, because you're tying into things well, man. Because naturally, the next thing was gonna be, who are we gonna get now? We're linked with a bunch of people, like you said there. Morgan Rogers, it never banged. Vinicius, it never banged. I understand how techie it can get trying to get those players, yeah. And I would have said broadly, even if we got Vinicius Junior, I think there's two things that we could learn. I think we need to find these guys before they become the guys. As I said, like Vinicius Junior is very different from when they signed Kaká and Ronaldo, and that them lot were doing what they're doing at other clubs. He played 2 minutes in Brazil. They went and bought him. Julian Alvarez, another one we're linked with. He was at obviously River Plate and things like that. So I think generally we need to start doing that. I'm not being funny. We used to be that. No one else can tell me they had a player that was a baller from Belarus. We used to be them kind of guys, bro. We had Brazilians that played for Croatia. Honestly, and there's better other talking points. Like,
when you mentioned that earlier about Solis, I almost interrupted you, because I've had this kind of debate going on in my own head. It's like, where's the scouting? Like, because I get the whole Premier League experience thing, but at some point you want someone who's a bit unknown, who
and half of these guys that we're linked with, they were somewhere.
Exactly, that no one just shoots out of the ground
exactly
from nowhere. And I guess if we're looking at previous signings, the one who really sticks out in terms of being like that is Christian Mosquera. But the thing is, he's a defender. I want these
defensive talent ID. Amazing stuff.
In forward areas,
Saliba, like we saw, you could be I know it was before these lot, but we could see you could be a gem, put the piece down, and then keep it moving. But as you said, it was a defender in attack. I don't know, man.
Like, so yeah, in my head, I've kind of been like, why aren't we in France? Why aren't we just have someone in France? But in terms of who you've got on the screen, he was one of my favorite.
Where's the Alexis at Udinese? Where's the Eden Hazard at Lyon? I don't think them ballers are around now, but you get the point. But yeah, man, in Ndiaye, you having him, and obviously you're not a finance man, but what's your price tag for him as well?
One of my friends asked me this, and I was like, to be fair, because of the way the market is currently, I wouldn't mind going up to 80 on Ndiaye. And I know that's a massive shout, but that's just because I
Because we're
love
gonna
him
miss him
as
a
a
couple of
player.
years in January as well. Hey, I hate to be that
Yeah,
guy, but you are gonna
yeah,
go
yeah,
after him.
yeah. I know.
Yeah, I
That
hate to
was.
be that. I'm on a Pep Guardiola thing. I know he puts him in your
I was
box
about
still.
to say something. I won't say it,
He's
but
a baller though. Another one that's had adversity in his career as well.
yeah. But what I love about him is the dribbling ability. Like he just reminds me of an Arsenal player during the Wenger days, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I'd go for it.
Come on, Moise,
especially
do it for us.
especially when you consider the options that have gone. When you say Rodgers, um, to be fair, it's interesting. Obviously, Barcola interest was earlier in the summer, less so now, and he was one that I liked because he would just run in behind and not just make a straight run. He'd actually curve his run. He'd offer something very different to what Arsenal have had in the past few years. And I know people use his finishing as a stick to beat him with, but I did a couple of pieces on him during the summer. And when you look at the numbers, his XG is almost identical to the goals he scores. So it's not like, I know he will miss, like, he does have some stinkers. Like, he's missed some big chances, including against Arsenal in the Champions League. Not just last season, but the season before in the semi-finals as well. But he's also got a capability of scoring very good goals that make up for that. So he is someone that I am a fan of. But if I was to, let's say, if you were to ask me, would you go for Barcola or Njai? And this, again, is a very maybe personal thing, and it's taken into account player bias, because everyone has a player bias in terms of what you look for in a player and what you like about a player. I would go for Njai because of that dribbling ability 1v1 and how he flows with the ball. I think there's some things in football where it's hard to kind of put into words what you're seeing, but you know it when you see it, if that makes
That's
sense.
why you watch the game.
Exactly. And I'd love to see more players like that at Arsenal.
Do you think I got a love-hate relationship with Barcola, man? If I'm honest,
Really?
I don't. Yeah, because I think you're a level raiser by default. You're not really a level raiser, if that makes sense to you. Like, I think like you're better than Martinelli. Big up Zolis. I'm not making it about Zolis, but you're better than Martinelli. That's one. I like what you could be. For what it's worth, I think you're a good player. Pace, running behind, trickery, all of that kind of jazz. For me personally, when I'm looking at you, I have you in the same bracket as Vinny in that you would be a star. It would gas the fans. It would go crazy on the internet. But I don't know what I'm really going to get from you with 10 games. I think you only really look good in the second half of games when it moves from systemic football to it's being a bit open. I don't think you're that clinical, but I do like you. I just feel it's the potential's there. I don't care about the potential. I care about realizing your potential now. And for me, once you start getting to 23, 24, 25, like Wenger said, it's not that you can't improve. It's like, if the penny don't drop now, the penny don't drop. Like, as somebody said on my YouTube channel, we have this guy as the Lionel Messi of Noni Maduekes. And I like him. I genuinely think that's what he is. Like, I like him, but it all has to make sense. And I do think there'll be an element of frustratingness from him. But even that, surely the boat's gone for this guy. Now, granted, rumors and what's going on in the real world is different. But we was at one point in the summer, as you know, because you cover it more than me, Morgan Rogers and Barcola, they were both linked. We're here. We want them regardless. Now you heard Rogers is the top target. Then you hear Vinny's the top target. Liverpool have been speaking to him for the best part of a year. If you're Barcola, it's not to say you wouldn't be attracted to Arsenal, hear what they got to say, but Liverpool have done the groundwork. You're going to be like, okay. To which it would make me broadly look at the club and say, this is more reason to say, as you said, where's the scouting? Because you've gone for Barcola where he might be priced out of a move or go elsewhere. Vinicius Jr., clearly the priority was to sign a new deal at Real Madrid and then reassess if that couldn't be something. And I know he can play left wing, but he's a striker. We essentially hear Julian Alvarez wants to go to Barcelona. So it would be a bit of a weird one and a bit of a demi-downer, considering we just won the Prem and we want us to act like Premier League champions, etc., etc.
Yeah, so in terms of, I can't actually remember what the actual question was, but I will kind of address a few bits because I saw.
Is he a level raiser or is he a level raiser by default? But yeah.
Okay. So I'll start with that then. I think he's probably closer to level raiser by default, but what makes me feel like he would be like a level raiser outright is he does things the current wingers just don't do. And
True.
Trossard included. So I think he gives you something different, and that automatically, again, I don't know if this counts to by default, but he will automatically just open that left-hand side up differently. I saw someone
Slightly default, but we'll give it to him.
Yeah, I saw someone in the comments mention Mika Götze from Ajax, and obviously
Looks
he
like
was
he's going
someone.
Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, he was someone that Arsenal, were interested in early in the summer, as was Yildiz from Juventus. But Juventus said he's not for sale. So it gets to a point where I think Arsenal have had how many targets? Maybe 4 to 5 for that left wing option. If you leave with just one, I think it will be quite disappointing. And I think looking at how the circumstances have gone, again, I'll come back to Bruno to just make a point. What I'm happy with Bruno is that it's being sorted out before the Premier League season starts.
Thank the Lord, yeah. Even by our standards, it took forever, but we got there over the line, man.
Because the longer you wait, you're going to get a situation where, let's say, Eze last year, that happened at the end of August, and thank God that it did happen, but you don't want that to be the case every summer. And I feel like a move needs to be made because, it's a really, really interesting season when everyone's looking at you as the favorites, but are you actually favorites? I don't know, because and I've mentioned this in pieces, and on other podcasts, Arsenal haven't retained the title since 1930s. It's like
something we've
even though we can talk about acting like champions and all this, have you actually been in this position before? Not to this extent. And I feel like this summer was an opportunity to really kind of step into uncharted waters for what is the norm at Arsenal Football Club. And I'm still waiting for that step to happen.
And that's what I mean when I say in my channel, and it all comes from a place of love, yeah, like big up Arteta and the boys and stuff, but from a place of love and wanting us to keep this up and do better. I would say to these boys, if I could speak to them, you haven't done anything I haven't seen in my 31 years, with the greatest of respect. like you said there, I've seen us win a Premier League title. I ain't seen us retain it. I've seen us get to a Champions League final. I ain't seen us win it. So that's my kind of level of thinking. And going back to Vinny, beyond anything here, or beyond everything that we could say about Vinny and it's not happening and all that kind of jazz, I think it would have been a transformable signing that you firmly could have put in the same realm as, at the time, Dennis Bergkamp. At the time, as recently as Declan Rice. I would say when you look at the financial constraints we had and moving out of it, Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil, I think Vinny would have been that. But that's all be all and end all. Because we kind of been speaking about it, yeah. Big up Valera, who's a moderator here. What do you guys prefer? A quality striker and we don't get a left winger and we address it next summer, or it must be a left winger? It's to answer my side before I let Art say his point. To me as a casual fan, the market looks dead, in it. Like, we keep talking about the same names. I don't feel I like Pocola. I'm not 100% convinced. I like Nico Williams. I'm not 100% convinced. I like Nusa. I'm not 100% convinced. I wish it was that time in football where you could see Hazard at Leo and thought, right, that's a good player. Like, as I said earlier, forget Barcelona and Arsenal when talking about Alexis Sanchez. You could see him at Udinese. We used to buy him on Football Manager and FIFA. That's my thing. I'd rather a left winger park off the striker, even though I like both.
And on that point, in terms of Eden Hazard at Lille, Alexis Sanchez at Udinese, players who are allowed to develop at these clubs. When you look at Eden Hazard, he had like 3 or 4 seasons at Lille in the first team before he signed for Chelsea, and now it feels like, okay, a player has one good year and they get snapped up instantly. I agree with you.
Or a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, or a good 5 minutes. I agree with you that I would go for a left winger because of this guy on the screen right now. I'd go for him over Alvarez.
I don't even care that he's out for 3-4 months. Maybe it's because I'm an Arsenal fan and the French time.
I'll wait for him. I'll wait for him.
I think he's mustard, man.
Yeah, he's top. What I like about him is it feels like throughout Arteta's time at Arsenal, he's always been looking for like a blend of the strikers he already has. So at the start, it was like a blend of Lacazette and Aubameyang. Jesus kind of was that for 6 months, and then he got injured. Now he needs someone who's like a blend of Havertz and Gyökeres.
We've got 4 strikers or 4 people eligible. You wish you could
Yeah.
just fuse them all together. If you could mix Gyökeres, Kai, Marino, and Jesus together, we're never waffling about striker again, innit? But that's how it works.
The big thing with Krupi is he's not just a striker. He can do multiple things.
Play behind the forward as well.
Exactly. I know a lot of people would just, zero in on the goals he scored last season, and as a 19-year-old at the time, but he's got so much more to his game. And I did something a few weeks ago where I kind of spoke about him, and it's kind of what we were alluding to earlier. But the way he plays football, he plays with like invention and
intention.
True, both. And I feel like football, not just Arsenal, but it would be nice if it is at Arsenal. Football needs that. Football needs. And he's an Arsenal
legend already, if I'm honest. So it makes sense.
So yeah, he would be the one that I'd wait for him for next summer. I'd go for him. I'd go for him over Alvarez.
You're being asked a question, man. Endrick or Krupi?
I haven't watched Endrick that much, but
I'm gonna say Endrick because he's Brazilian, and if there's one thing that if there's
Brazil bias, man,
Brazil, I was leading the front line for Vinny. I'm happy that we got Guimarães. But
it's not 2002 anymore, man.
We'll be back, man. I was screaming we're gonna win it in 2026, 2030. We'll be back. No one bet us. If I'm honest, yeah, I'm gonna say Endrick purely because I've got a gripe to pick with Krupi. Before the latest edition of Football Manager, the one before that, because I know there was a bit of a gap here, he rejected me for Spurs. And then I preed it 5 years later. You was rotting in Spurs. It's under 21s. You was gonna be the focal point of me. But yeah, no, I like Krupi. If it came down, I like Endrick, but I just don't think Endrick's got the platform. It's a weird one because Krupi's injured. Bournemouth are playing hardball because they're in Europe. Endrick, he feels like he's one of those players. Do I want to leave Real Madrid? Will he go on the loan circuit? I don't know. And it feels like Endrick, if he's not going to play up front, his next best position for me, in my opinion, might be off that right-hand side versus off the left, where Krupi long-term, I can see you playing as a striker. And obviously you can play behind it. I think you could help us in the intermediate time off that left-hand side. And even when I was, because I read a lot of stuff about Areola, not so much now he's went Liverpool, but I think his football and his philosophies kind of mimics Mikel Arteta's. And he was talking about Krupi. He was saying at Bournemouth, he does his own individual finishing, but Krupi, we don't work on finishing with him. I know you can finish. I need him to be good off the ball, and you got to stand here. All the stuff Arteta was saying, and he was saying because he's improved so much at that, and he's doing his thing. I feel comfortable to have him in the team and know that we can still defend. So being young, being impressionable, and adding that on top of what we're saying, it makes sense. But unfortunately, it goes back to what we say. You got to grab these guys when they're at France because he's been there 2 minutes. It's probably 100 million quid.
Fair, with Krupi, and yes, he is injured. I can't see who commented, but the thing with him going to Bournemouth was their link with Lorient.
Yeah, exactly.
That
pyramid
kind
scheme.
of partnership.
I wish we had it. I wish we had the pyramid scheme still.
But I think also what we're getting at is so the generation we grew up in, Arsenal were buying players like Robin van Persie, aged 19. It's like obviously this one didn't, come off to the same extent.
We don't buy superstars, we make them.
But Nicholas Bentner as well, he was seen as the guy. And I'm not, believe me, trust me,
I hate you with that, but
I'm not putting them in the same bracket at all because Robin van Persie is still the best striker I think Arsenal have had in the Emirates era. And obviously, Henry had one season,
prime,
so
prime.
You can't. I don't think you can count Henry properly because he only had one season at the Emirates. Van Persie, different.
Those prime years we got out of Van Persie, what felt like 2 odd years, probably. Yeah. I was gonna throw Aubameyang, but it would be Robin van Persie still.
But why can't we sign someone like that? Like,
why can't we find an Adebayor?
That age bracket, and Adebayor included in that as well. Like, guys who are
Real Adebayo, before forget the cane rolls when he looked like an arty, bro. That's the scouting was different, bro. When he looked like an arty on Peckham High Street, bro, we was finding guys.
guys who are in their early 20s who have shown a bit already and can go to a next level. And I think Krupi is the guy. Just got, hopefully he comes back from that injury without, any long-term effects, and maybe get some more experience in Europe. Wait, did Bournemouth qualify?
Yeah, they are. They're in Europa.
Yeah.
Get
some experience in Europe, and then see what Arsenal can do with him. Because I
wanted to ask you about this as well, man. Obviously, Jabi Alonso and Zubi know each other from their time at Sociedad. Obviously, we've brought in Bruno Guimarães. I know there's going to be a degree of creative journalism from like other journalists, but do you think Zubi could go Chelsea? Because it seems like it's making noise.
So I'm just reading that because I hadn't seen it.
Let me read it out for everyone. I was told by a source that Jabi Alonso is a big fan of Martin Zubimendi and has communicated to Chelsea that he's a player he likes and is of interest to him. I'm not saying Chelsea are going for Zubimendi, but he's a player who's been mentioned by Alonso.
One thing I would say on that, it doesn't surprise me that Alonso likes him, because obviously before
that's his boy.
Before he went into full-time senior management, he was at Real Sociedad, and I think coach Zubimendi when he was in the B team. So
that's the link.
They have a link, and when you look at the transfer last summer, a lot of the presumption was, Jabi Alonso is going at Real Madrid, so he's just going to get Zubimendi, and that's
where my hot takes come from primarily. Because they missed out on Rodri, might as well get the next best thing.
So yeah, I don't think that would happen this summer. That would surprise me quite a bit. I mean, Chelsea got Jordan Henderson. they got Henderson at home. I bet you might have been on mute for a second.
You made me unplug my mic. And they got Danny Welbeck, who's probably going to score against them. I think that's another thing. Football is romantic, because them two were at Sunderland and they beat Chelsea at the beginning many years ago. It's mad because they're at the start of their careers. Many of the young players we're talking about now probably weren't even in their dad's ball sacks, but it tells you how football develops, man. It's absolutely crazy, man. What else did I want? Do you really think we could get 20 million euros for Gabriel Jesus? I think that equates to about 18 million quid, because we're linked with nothing.
Yeah.
Big up if he does that.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Arsenal get 20 million. I mean,
you're not alone.
With transfer fees, it was quite interesting to see how people reacted quite differently to the Trossard fee. Because I thought, 18 going up to 20 million for Trossard was a decent fee when you
with 1 year left. Yeah, you can't complain, man.
One year left, and he turns 32 in December. Whereas I saw some people were like, is this the most Arsenal can get for Trossard? And with Jesus, I think it's a completely different conversation because of the injury record, because of also the wages. He's obviously on much higher wages than Trossard would have been, even with Trossard getting that, pay rise
that
last
buffer,
summer. So yeah, I just feel like with Jesus, it's really sad the way it's kind of turned out, because of the impact he had. Like, he literally gave this team life. So it'll be really, really sad the day he does leave. But I think it gets to a point where you can't almost cut your nose and spite your face in the fact that, okay, you set a fee that you want and you just don't accept anything that's near it. Like, you can't have players just leaving for frees like they were a few years ago, or
or cancelling contracts.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was about to say next. Like Özil and Aubameyang and Socrates and how many others there were. So at some point, I think, it's going to have to come to a point where Arsenal just accept, okay, we're not going to get this much, and choose to part ways, because at the end of the day, Arsenal also need to get better at selling players.
Another thing we used to be the kings at. I know the dynamics were different, but we used to get players for the low, sell them for high. I think with Jesus, Fabio Villa, and Reece Nelson, it's just about the collective wages outlay, and it just take
Yeah.
what you can get. I'd be amazed if Andrea Berta, which knows more about football than me, if you can get Napoli to spend 20 million euros, it'd be great. I actually have been saying he should be going to Inter or AC because I just think them the Italian league is bookie, but players that lost form, players that seem they're over the hill, young players that don't do it in other leagues, they go Italy, they become the top scorers, and they probably put, I don't know, man, maybe it's the food, maybe it's the recovery, but you end up playing till you're 40. So yeah, man, Jesus needs to keep it moving, man. I love him.
Yeah.
I actually feel, yeah, when I look at
Oh. Oh, I can't hear you. Oh wait,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
As I was saying with Gabriel Jesus, it's sad, yeah. And like when people talk about romance or poetic, they always think about positives. I think it sucks with Jesus because, as you said, the first 6 months, how he played with Martinelli, the pressing, the kind of the prototype of what Arteta wants as a striker, in it. I feel a sense of guilt, even though I've got no guilt, because I remember the 2022 World Cup when he got that injury, and then obviously he's come back now, and it sucks because I feel the second injury against Man United, if there was any little juice left, that just took it out of him.
Yeah,
like it was
because those few
it's
weeks
gone.
before that injury, he was unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, when you think back to, it's weird though. Like even last season, when he first came back from his injury, and this obviously comes within the context of Gyökeres being shocking at the time. But he came in and it was like a breath of fresh air. Like I remember being at Everton away, and it was like, wow, like someone who can actually move with the ball, and you know, he had something. And then what I want to say is, if you remember when he scored against Inter in the Champions League, and I think he said in his post-match afterwards, like he felt like he was going to cry because he obviously idolized R9, who played it for both Inter and AC, and obviously it was a dream for him to score at San Siro. So what you're saying about, you know, Italy, if it's
be
possible,
a reality. Get on the phone to your agent, man.
yeah, he could have another dream.
That dream
true.
every day.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ferran Torres, lads. I'm not on it, man. If I'm honest with you, it makes sense. What do you make of last two things I wanted to ask you about? Yeah, would you make a Konza and being linked to Arsenal?
So, okay, you know I'm a South Londoner, but this isn't one that I'm really on like that. If I'm being honest, like, so for me, what I would do, and again, I'm not the manager, I'm not, you know, Berta or whatever. Rather than, I know Saliba's out for, you know, the foreseeable, but rather than going into the market fresh for a centre back, Arsenal were already looking at right backs. I'd go for a right back and move Ben White across. That's what I.
Yeah, but can you rely on Ben to be fit for 3-5 months?
Well, Ben White and Mosquera would play there.
True. You have got Mosquera. You know what? That's an interesting thing. But I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I am a hypocrite, because that was my thinking before the Saliba news came out. I wanted ideally a Timber, Tomiyasu, Swiss Army knife type of thing. Admittedly, with the injury to Saliba and him being out, I'm more wanted a centre half that could play right back, in which Konza does tick that. I'm not really on the price. I'm not the biggest fan of Konza. I'm not the biggest critic either. But if we got him, I wouldn't cry because I could kind of understand it. But you know what? If we could do that, that's cool.
Sorry to cut you, but
no, go ahead.
My thing is, okay, there's the price is one thing. Also, when you look at his minutes for Aston Villa, he's used to being someone who plays 80 to 90% of Premier League games from the start.
True.
When Saliba comes back, sorry, but you're not starting.
But that's where the right back attraction with Konza appeals to be.
But the right back thing, and I've seen his name mentioned in the comments. Fresneda, Arsenal have been looking at this guy for 3 years. He's played right back in a back four and also as a wing back in a back five. Last season, and I know this because I did a piece on him, but their manager, Rui Borges, played him as a centre back at times as well. So he's someone who has tools. He's not someone.
Was that in a back three or back four?
I'll need to double check that actually.
Yeah, I need to know because that might be them Buki Monreal centre half like shifts.
The only thing with Fresneda is at right back, he doesn't offer much in attack. So he's not someone who's going to get you loads of like assists and stuff.
What, Fresneda?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's more, defender first. So I don't know how that would translate at Arsenal. But for me, I would go for him rather than Konza because I feel like it's more seamless. So yeah.
It's a techie one. And then my last thing for you is Christian Romero attracting interest from Arsenal. Tottenham are unaware of Arsenal's interest, which I didn't understand that sentence, admittedly, but would consider any deal to be a non-starter, leaving Atletico Madrid and Inter as likely candidates for his signing this summer. Maybe he wants to be the White Sol Campbell. Would you make of this? Yeah.
That I was actually at football when that came out. I was five-a-side. It's a no from me. Like, I'm good.
It's a no for everyone, well, apart from Arsenal, but probably no for Spurs.
Yeah. I think he's, in terms of when you're looking at centre backs, I was actually always confused why Tottenham fans rated him. Like, I just find him so rash. Like,
he's rated for kicking people.
He's not for me.
I am not down for the cause at all. Nah. It's a no for everybody, isn't it? Because they're going to ask you to pay through the nose. Obviously, he's a bit of a shithouser. That's the only benefit I can see. You know me. I love them kind of guys. No, man. And I am at the point where you mentioned, and I'll say this as a final comment. You mentioned Mascara, innit? I like that signing. But then I look at the same approach, but differently in that there might use like what Mascara's 21, right? There might be a 27-year-old, I don't know, playing for Real Valladolid that no one don't really know, not really a household name, but you get him and he does the job, which goes back to what also he said in where's the scouting? And there must be a level of scouting. I understand the caveat is we've gone up the levels. We're not aspiring to be top 4 again or be dead certains for Champions League. We're at the creme de la creme in the Premier League, but it'd be interesting to see what happens, man. I think we've got enough to retain the Premier League title, but for me to be really, 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 really bullish about that, I do want to see some of these names. Now, if we can get stars, great. If we can just address left wing, that'd be amazing. But again, man, like, we're just going to have to see, man. Right now, our attention has to turn towards Dortmund and Como and then the curtain raiser against City.
Yeah.
Then we're there against Coventry, innit?
Reunion with Cesc coming up.
Yeah. He might even end up managing us one day. I know I've been coming out with some hot shouts, yeah. My hottest of shouts with no logic. Granit Xhaka or Mikel Merino one day will manage Arsenal. I don't know why I believe that. Especially, and I'm heavy on the Mikel Merino. I don't know why you just scream coach.
I think Merino would probably be an easier sell to the fan base.
True.
But no, I'm looking forward to seeing Cesc in that in the press conference room at the Emirates.
I'm looking to it because a lot of people wanted Cesc versus Arteta, and it's romantic with Arsenal. And it might even, the last time we played. Well, it's weird. Whenever we play at the Emirates in pre-season, I always look at it seriously because I remember Hincapié played for Leverkusen technically, and we went and signed him. We've been linked with a couple of Como boys. We'll have to see how that goes, man. But man, I've had you here far too long, man. It's been 1 hour and 17 minutes. My chat appreciates you. I appreciate you. On behalf of everyone, one love. What have you got to come out? Where can people find you, etc., my boy?
Yeah, on Twitter or X, just at Art de Roché. I need to get back on the Twitch thing. I haven't done it in ages.
Starts hanging around with David Ornstein. He doesn't care about you.
No.
When he starts chatting to Fabrizio Romano, I bet I won't get on the platform no more.
No, I need to do that because I've actually got a couple interesting Football Manager saves I'm doing at the minute. One's 2009-10 database, and the other's a 2000-2001 database.
You're one of them.
Yeah. I love going back and seeing like what I can do with those players. Although I was actually quite surprised at how kind of rubbish I don't know if rubbish is the right word. There's a lot of heavy lifting you have to do with the back line in 2000, 2001.
You're better than me, my boy, because I'm just in the present day. My Football Manager's mad. I've got Vinícius. I've got Morgan Rogers. I've got Julian Alvarez.
I went for Mbappe.
I need to get him. I play Warren Zaire Emery right back. Hot take. Yeah, hot take. No, but you're right back. I actually play 2 inverted fullbacks. Like 2 inverted fullbacks are 6 and 2 rotating 8s.
What I do when my team's ready is
And I am a safe scummer as well.
I do I do a back three, like a narrow back three, 2 holding midfielders. Actually, no, wait. I change it sometimes. So narrow back three, a diamond, wingers, and a striker.
Well, do you play with width or you make them narrow?
The wingers, it depends who it is. So sometimes
You're one of them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's width, sometimes it's the guys who, you know, are a bit more narrow.
And I can't lie, people hate me, but you see me, I don't believe in this game management stuff. We're attacking from minute 0 to 90. I don't care. If it's the Champions League final, we're taking that risk. My left back always has to invert as well. There's certain principles I won't thingy on.
In my present day save, so I have players that I love, like, and I need them. So 2, I think we've spoken about this guy at length before. Shirky, I was like, I don't care if he's at Man City, he's coming to Arsenal. So Shirky was within like the first season.
How much you spend on him? Madness.
Mental. And then Ekatike had to come in as well. That's my guy.
I know you snaked Gyökeres. See, Gyökeres is still here. I listen, if we're being snaky, Marino came into my office, said I want to go on loan. All right, you could go Juventus. Trossard was chatting shit to the point where other people were getting involved. You're gone. Kai Havertz, you said you wanted to go Bayern Munich. Shame. Who else is gone? Who else? Zubi's still there. Bare man have been clipped, man. Listen, I don't play game. Odegaard wants to go Saudi. I've accepted the bid. I don't want him to go, but I've accepted 90-odd million quid, man. But yeah, man, let me let you get out of it, man. We'll be here on for a whole other hour waffling about Football Manager, man. Big up Art for being here. Big up the chat. Go subscribe. Make sure you're aware of his content and all of those things, people. I'll be back later today at some point, probably. But until then, people, come on, you gunners. Art, enjoy your Friday, my boy. Tell David Austin, let's link up, man. Same. One love, chat.
Against this right back, Charlie's definitely.
Everyone's going their weekend. You always used to act with them like,